Right, everyone. So welcome to our first Cold Water Capers talk that we have for 2023. My name is Monine Murray, and I'm the Vice Chair for the CLDSA. And yes, probably the person that does the organizing of this behind the scenes. So if anybody's got any good ideas around talks, you're welcome to talk to me about it. Today, there's been quite a lot of interest in this. We thought to move our cold water capers to be a bit more educational and to focus today's cold water capers on preparing for Robben Island crossing. Clearly, there's quite a lot of interest in it, even from the people that I think I see have done Robben Island crossing. So I will just quickly kick off and start, and just for the people, we've got quite a lot of non-members that joined us on this talk. Just a very brief overview around who we are. We are the Cape Long Distance Swimming Association, which was really a member-based organization that was established in the late 1960s to really, I think, connected with all of our love for long distance swimming and particularly sea swimming. The organization's purpose is to facilitate, celebrate, and act as the custodian of our members' ultimate swimming achievements and to develop an inclusive open water swimming community. So we authenticate and record keep all the long distance swimmers in the Western Cape, really for all three of those categories, for skins, wetsuits, and assisted swims. And at the moment, we are probably in Africa, the biggest record keeping body of long distance swim, and that is the definition of 7.4 kilometers and higher in Africa, with at the moment, if you go and look at our records, which are public records, over 4,000 registered swims recorded today. So we offer these cold water caper talks to our members as one of the benefits, but also to the wider swimming community, so that we make sure that we educate and educate and probably motivate people about long distance swimming itself. So over to just introducing you to today's speaker. I'm going to just be doing the introduction bit, and then I'm going to hand over to Michelle Petring. Some of you might know her very well on the call, I see, but some of you might not. So Michelle really is a swimmer, I think, is more than qualified to talk about Robben Island crossings to date. She's done 33 single Robben Island crossings, 4 double Robben Island crossings. She's also at the moment the only female that's done a triple Robben Island crossing. At the moment, she's done 6 pre-extol swims, which were 12-kilometer swims, 1 double pre-extol 24 kilometers, and then a Milnerton lighthouse swim, which is here on the Bloberg side as well, 10.2K swim. Additional to that, Michelle is an accomplished skipper, and she's supported almost 100 swimmers on Robben Island crossings through Big Bay events, and she's also supported swimmers through other swims, and especially around False Bay crossings. And then we're also very lucky to have Michelle as the CLDSA committee member. So yeah, so really want to say thank you, Michelle. Thanks for putting the time together to put this together and to share with us, I think, some of your wisdom. Before I maybe hand over to Michelle, what we were thinking of doing, we've got quite a few slides that we want to get through with quite a lot of content. And what we were wondering is if you have questions, to maybe pop them in the chat. And what we'll do is at the end, we've actually saved some time at the end for questions and answers. We'll go through some of those questions and try and address most of those. If we can't address it, then we'll see if there's any usually unanswered ones. We'll actually put a writing up and share with you guys some answers around that. So if you don't mind using the chat for the purpose of just putting your questions there, we really appreciate that. And on that note, I'm going to hand over to Michelle. Thank you, Michelle. Over to you.
Thanks, Monine. Hi, everybody. Welcome. I do hope that you'll go away from this evening with some information that can help you prepare for Robben Island crossing, and not just Robben Island, any of the longer swims around the Western Cape and the world for that matter. But this one is specifically aimed at Robben Island. So what we're going to do is we're just going to give you a brief overview of the history of the route, then go through training, nutrition, cold water acclimatization, and post-swim recovery, what the swim logistics look like, and then registering your swim with CLDSA and how that works. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, so Robben Island is about 7.5 k's off Big Bay. The straight line from Robben Island to Big Bay itself at high tide, 7.4 k's. It's an island of, as we all know, historical and political significance to South Africans, and it's also a World Heritage Site. So the first Robben Island swim recorded was in 1909 with Henry Chartres Hooper, and he swam from Robben Island to the Old Cape Town Harbour. All reports say it was a mammoth swim, more than 7 hours to complete the 11 k's. Robben Island is a challenge to even accomplished swimmers. Even today on the water with Howard, it was a tough swim, and Howard's done over 100 swims. So the water temperature ranges anything from 11 to 18, and you really need to be prepared for all of that. By the end of January this year, we had recorded just over 2,500 solo crossings. And as you can see, an interesting fact, it's much less than the number of people that have actually summited Mount Everest. So our record holder at the moment for the most crossings is Ryan Stramrood, and he's done 129 crossings to date. I'm sure he'll increase on that fairly shortly. Okay, so over to the training for the swim. While the crossing is not a particularly long crossing, it's 7.5 k's, and that in itself, to swimmers, some may go, oh wow, that's a really long crossing, and others go, well, it's not really long. What's important about this one is you underestimate this crossing at your peril. You really do need to be over prepared for your first Robben Island crossing. The conditions change from the island all the way through back to Big Bay. And those changes involve both temperature, current, wind. It absolutely changes from feed to feed. What's important when you start training is start from where you are. Don't try and jump in and do big mileage. Start from where you are and build up. Your training must include both pool and open water training. Your pool training is going to build your stamina and your distance and your fitness, while your open water training is going to help you with your acclimatization, especially for the cold water on the Big Bay side of Cape Town. If you're training on the False Bay side, that's fantastic, but make time to come over to either Camps Bay, Clifton, or Big Bay and actually swim in the colder water on that side. It'll definitely help you in your preparation for the swim. Regular training in cold water is very important because you really do need to be comfortable with the cold. And the conditions on the day, excuse me, as a Capetonian, you have the option of actually picking your day, depending on who your support crew is. So wait for good temperatures, but know that it can change on the day. When you're training, train in the category that you're going to swim in. If you're going to swim skins, train in skins. It's not going to help you to go out and do wetsuit training in 14, 15 degrees and then on the day go, okay, I'm now doing skins, and then you get the shock with the cold water. So really just train in the category that you're going to swim. If you want to swim skins, stay in skins. If you want to swim wetsuit, train in wetsuit. It's also, with a wetsuit, it's going to help you with the movement around your shoulders as well. So as your training progresses, there is a school of thought that says your weekly mileage should equal the total distance of your swim. So if you're looking at doing the 7.5K swim, make sure that your weekly mileage adds up to that as you progress through your training. Don't try and hit that on your first week. Okay, you could actually crash yourself out of your training if you do that. When we move on and you start getting closer to your swim date, we do, as CLDSA, we do recommend that you try a longer swim in cold water. So a good 5K, be in the water for at least an hour. and try and make sure that you're swimming in water that's less than 16 degrees. That's going to give you a pretty good idea of how you're going to cope on the day. In terms of training, the CLDSA has got a registered 8K swim out in Langebaan. It's the Preekstoel around the island to Pearlies. It's a fantastic swim as you're finalizing your preparation, your training. It's good in terms of giving you the distance. It gives you confidence. It's a generally a warmer swim, although the water at Langebaan can also drop the water temp. So that swim is great for your mental preparation. It gives you a chance to practice swimming next to a boat and taking your feeds off the boat, because that's vital on your Robben Island crossing. You're not going out there on your own. You're not going with a paddler. You're actually going with a rubber duck or a bigger boat, and you need to know how to swim next to it, because the boat is going to give you your line. So from my side, I highly recommend the Langebaan swim as one of your last big training swims before you're ready for your Robben Island. Okay, eliminating while swimming. Yes, it's one of those things that nobody really likes to talk about, but it's something that you actually do have to practice. And please don't practice it in the pool, practice it in the open water. Okay. Letting go of fluids is not necessarily a difficult thing. Letting go of solids is a little more difficult, and that's getting your head around it. It really is just getting your head around it. As you swim, being able to release fluids. Some swimmers can do it while they swim. Others need to wait till they're having a feed. So when you're stopping and you're getting your bottle and your legs drop, I know for the guys it's generally easier to eliminate at that point. It is something you do need to practice and as part of your training, because it's going to get very uncomfortable on your swim if you're not able to release pressure around your bladder and, quite frankly, your bowels. Okay, that was the difficult one. Right. Okay, nutrition. Nutrition has developed quite dramatically over the last few years in terms of the Robben Island swim. I know when I started swimming, preparing for my first Robben Island, we were trying date balls and bananas and energy bars and boiled eggs and a whole lot of solids and things that we were trying to feed when we were training in Langebaan. But the reality is when your mouth gets cold, you're not going to be able to chew these things, and you're not going to be able to actually swallow them. And the amount of time you're in the water, it's not going to give you a lot of nutritional value. So bananas, generally bananas, you're going to get a piece of banana, and that could work because there's potassium and that in it, which definitely does help for cramping. But anything else, realistically, you're not going to be able to chew it. The water's just too cold and your mouth just doesn't work. So find a carb mix that works for you, and train with it. The important thing is you need to train with it. When you go to the pool, take it with you. Take carb mix before you swim if you don't want to take it while you're swimming at the pool. But you need to know what's going to work for your body, what's going to fuel you. And in cold water, you're definitely going to burn more energy than you would normally. On the swims themselves, we space the feeds every 30 minutes. Okay. There are a few reasons for that. It's the amount of calories that your body can take in and burn consistently. 30 minutes is a good marker for that. The other thing is so that your crew can check on you, that they can actually check that you're not starting to get hypothermic, you're still comfortable in the water, you're still able to communicate with them, and that you're generally okay. So while we are trying to give you nutrition during those feeds, we're also checking up on you. the water's cold. It really is cold, and it helps to have a warm feed, not a hot feed, okay? Because you're not going to be able to actually feel how hot the tea or hot water is that's in your flask. So when you prepare it, either make sure that the liquid that's in your flask is drinkable as it is, that it's not too hot for you, or that it can be mixed with your carb mix on the boat, and your crew will sort that out for you. A lot of people like rooibos tea with honey. The honey definitely helps to soothe the throat, and it helps with the salt tongue. Myself, rooibos doesn't work for me, so I just use hot water with some honey. That goes with my carb mix. Be careful about putting tea, milk in your tea, or any sort of dairy if you're taking other mixes with. I find I get very phlegmy, and then it's difficult for your feeds to stay down, and it can aggravate seasickness. Okay. One of the things that swimmers are surprised about when they swim in the open water is that they get nauseous. And feeds don't always stay down in their entirety. So it is something to look at, and it is something to be aware of. So when you're taking a feed, you really need to be comfortable with it. And like I say, dairy can definitely aggravate any sort of seasickness on the day. You just need the wind to turn slightly. This morning, the water looked flat. We got in and we were swimming into a headwind, and it felt like we were swimming into a boat wake for the first hour of the swim. So any day, the conditions predicted are not necessarily what you're going to get. So you need to prepare for all of that. Okay. My experience as a swimmer and on the boat has shown me that about 5 Ks into a Robben Island, you definitely need a gel. You need some sort of boost over and above your carb mix. The water seems to change at about 5 Ks. Haven't quite figured out why. But at that point, you've got to knuckle down and really put your head down and go for the last 2.5 Ks. And a gel definitely helps. Find one that works for you. There are a whole number of them on the market. I like one that I can actually put into the carb mix and dissolve with the carb mix. It's much easier to consume. Then you're not taking a bottle and a gel in your other hand and trying to get that all down. So again, find what works for you. Okay, we've dealt with the energy bars. That Langebaan swim that I spoke about earlier, it's a great swim to test your nutrition on, particularly on the long distance, to see if it's going to stay down, if it's going to give you enough energy, if it's too strong. Yeah, it's a really great swim to test your nutrition on. Plan for a longer swim than you anticipate. Okay, you're swimming in the pool. You're anticipating a 2.5, 3 hour swim. Plan for a 4 hour swim. Have enough feed with you in case things go a bit pear-shaped on the day. Rather have too much feed with you than not enough. If you need an extra half an hour in the water and you don't have anything to take, you're really not going to have the energy to finish. And your chances of then being pulled out of the water before you finish are pretty good. So really prepare for a longer swim in terms of your nutrition. Eat properly in the days, particularly the day before your swim. Take a well-balanced meal, have a good dinner, make sure you've hydrated. On the day before, really does play in on the day of your swim in terms of how your body reacts. I know if I haven't eaten properly the day before, I'm going to struggle. And it doesn't matter how much feed you've got with you, your body just doesn't have the reserves. It's not starting out in a strong place. So eat a well-balanced meal the day before, make sure you hydrate properly. And even the morning of the swim, prepare properly. Have a bowl of oats or whatever your breakfast of choice is before you swim. Have breakfast. A lot of people go, oh no, I can't eat before I swim. you need the fuel. You really do need the fuel. If you want to take a gel or some carb mix before you swim, do it by all means. Load your body that you have enough for your first half an hour on the water. Okay. People go, okay, well, I'm getting stuff for half an hour in, but you've still got to get to that half an hour. So make sure that you have enough in you before you start. Eating solids before you start is fine. The bananas, oats is great. I like a couple of sandwiches on my way through to Oceana in the mornings as preparation with coffee, to be fair. So take what works for you before the swim, okay? But go prepared. Make sure that when you get in the water, you've got enough to get you through that first half an hour. That's actually very important. Okay, a couple of things to really bear in mind. Cramping. I cramp horribly in my legs. Horribly. It's something that I've been working on. I take all sorts of magnesium, calcium, a whole lot of stuff for it. Make sure you've got something with you in your feed box, okay, if you tend to cramp. Whether it's Rennies, whether it's Cramp Ease, whatever you take, make sure you've got it in your feed box with you. So that if you do start to cramp, your crew knows what you've got and can give you something to help you. Allergies are not something that we tend to talk about. We tend to forget to ask the question. So if you have any sort of life-threatening allergies, make sure you've got your medication with you on the boat, and please tell your crew how to administer it to you if and when you need it. Jellyfish are a very real thing. Blue bottles are a very real thing. So if you have any sort of allergies to that, make sure that you've got something with you on the boat, so that the crew is in the position to help you immediately should you need it. Seasickness, we're back to seasickness. It is common in open water swimming, okay? If you feel that you need to take something, consult with your doctor or pharmacist to find something that's going to work for you. And again, train with that when you're in the open water. Try it out, see if it works for you. And that's definitely going to help you as your open water career. If Robben Island is your only swim, that's fantastic. If you're looking at more swims and other swims, know what can help your body if you need it, in terms of those three things. Okay, cold water acclimatization. You will be cold. It's going to happen. You're going to get cold, so get used to it. That's the bottom line. Train your body to actually deal with the cold. That when you get in, the body's not going, I'm dying. Okay, you've done it before. You're going to survive it. You're going to push through it. You're going to be cold from the start of the swim to the end of the swim. It's one of those things you've got to deal with. Okay. One of the ways to help with that is absolutely frequently swimming in cold water. That it's going out, and not only when conditions are flat, even when it's bumpy and lumpy, train in those conditions so that on the day, if you have perfect conditions, it's fantastic. If you don't, you know what you're dealing with. What happens with the cold is your warm blood pulls from your extremities. So your hands and feet are going to get cold first. The blood is going to go to your core and it's going to circulate around your organs to keep your organs functioning. Okay, so hands may claw. Sometimes you can work through that. Sometimes you can't work through that. And then your crew might pull you. Okay, so just know that your body has reactions to the cold, and by practicing in colder water, you see how your body reacts to the cold, and you can learn how to deal with it. One of the things you need to do is to make sure that you swim your pace. Even if you choose to swim with someone else, make sure that you're swimming your pace. Okay, it's the best way to maintain your body heat. If you are swimming too fast, you're going to run out of energy. if you are swimming too slow, you're going to get really cold. So if you're going to swim with someone, try and find someone that is your pace, okay? So that you can maintain that pace throughout your swim, and it'll definitely help you to maintain your body heat through the swim. Okay, after the swim, your post-swim recovery, everybody reacts to cold differently. Some people don't have an after drop, and other people have a horrible after drop. Now, the after drop happens when the cold blood starts circulating through your body again. So it's moving from your extremities back to your core, and your body is systematically warming up again. Plan on at least an hour to recover. Okay, you need to get your core temperature back to normal. Check with your swim support service provider whether they offer recovery facilities at Big Bay. If they don't, make sure that there's someone to meet you there that can help you recover, that's got warm, dry clothes for you, that's got something warm to drink. And once you get out of the water, really get out of your wet costume and into dry clothes quickly. It's the best way to start your recovery. Okay, I know everybody wants to high five and hug and cheer you on as you've landed on the beach, and that's fantastic. Take a very short amount of time to do that. You can celebrate with friends and family after you've started recovering. Your recovery is very important, and the longer you wait to get out of your costume, the harder the recovery is going to be if it's been a really cold swim. You're going to shake, you're absolutely going to shiver, okay? And it's important that you try and stay calm through that process if you haven't experienced it before. You need to stay focused, and you need to stay conscious. So sit in the sun, but don't lie down. Don't try and have a nap. You really do need to stay focused. If you can move around, that's great. If you're really cold, sit in the car with a heater. Don't go and have a hot shower immediately. Okay, it's really not good for you. Let your core temperature stabilize before you go and have a hot shower. So things like blankets, hot water bottles, even body heat transfer helps if you're really, really cold. Again, having something warm to drink is definitely going to warm you from the inside. Hot chocolate works for a lot of people. For others, it makes them nauseous. Try not to have caffeine, as it's going to raise your heart rate, and you don't necessarily need to do that immediately. Yeah, like I say, hot shower is not recommended until after your core temperature is stabilized. Don't try and leave before you've stabilized. Okay, don't try and get in a car and rush home so that you can go and warm up at home. You really do need to let your core temperature stabilize before you try and operate heavy machinery. And that's very, very important. At the Around the Rock swim the other day, there was a swimmer that had a very bad after drop, and he wanted to leave before he'd recovered. And it was important for us to make sure that he was safe to leave. So until he could talk to me properly and he'd stopped shaking, I wasn't happy for him to leave Big Bay. Once he'd reached that point, he was actually fine, and then I was happy for him to go home. And it's very important that you not try and leave your support system until you are fully recovered on that. Okay, swim logistics on the day. The Robben Island route, yes.
I just want to check, do you still want to run a bit of a poll? Just to see what you want to run at the start? Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay, guys, so what we thought, there's quite a lot of info, and we thought just to keep it a bit more interesting, we want to just maybe run a poll to talk about, for everyone, just to give us an indication of when do you guys plan on doing your Robben Island? So I'm going to launch the poll. I'm going to give you 1 minute. You can select one of the options and I'll share the results with everyone. So we just get a sense around who's in the room and when we want to do our Robben Islands. So off you go. Right. You're welcome to start answering the question. It should pop up on your side. Right.
Okay, I'm just, before I go on to swim logistics, while you were doing that, Manina, I was just scanning through the questions. Okay, there are a couple that are asking, when you say regular training in cold water, how many times a week do you mean? There are various training programs available that can help you prepare for Robben Island crossing. There are various coaches on all sides of the peninsula that have programs. At least once a week. If you're doing between a 12 and 16 week program, you need to be in cold water at least once a week. For me, I find it easier to get to the pool during the week. I can't necessarily get to open water during the week. So weekends are the times when I look for my longer swims in the open water and time to acclimatize. So once or twice a week should be enough initially, but you will, through your training programs, your coaches will give you distance that you need to cover in open water as you progress through your training cycle, and the length or the kilometers that you need to put in open water will determine how often you need to get to the open water in a week. So initially, I'd say at least once a week, and as you progress, if you can, 2 to 3 times a week. And that doesn't mean go and swim for an hour and a half in the open water. So if you're new to acclimatizing, start literally with minutes. So we're talking about 10 or 15 minutes that you can get used to breathing in the cold water. As you develop through your programs and you're doing, you're doing longer swims, your time in the cold water will increase. So that's where I am on that one. What carb mix do I use? I use Hammer Mix myself. I use the Perpetuum, which is a protein carb mix, 1 part protein to 4 part carb. That's the one I use. But there are a number of products on the market, and you really do need to find the one that works for you. Best month to do crossing? Pick one. Generally, it's better to do a crossing with the sun on your back. The warm summer months definitely help, even if the water's cold. The ambient temperature is warmer, and you definitely start to feel a bit warmer in the water. So summer months are generally better, but you also have the southeaster, and the southeaster brings cold water. So it's a bit of a toss-up on that. My first swim was February 14th, 16 degrees, flat water. It was beautiful. So the next couple of weeks, hopefully. Yeah. All right.
Michelle, so we just pause the questions. Just out of interest, that sounds like I'm sharing the results with you guys. It looks like within the next 6 months, most of our people on the audience is planning on doing it. So I can see the questions are quite focused around your own preparation. So that's great. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for indulging us on that. Great. Michelle, you can sort of take over then.
Thank you. Okay, going back to the swim logistics, the Robben Island route has a number of statutory requirements. It is in a marine protected area. The start is in a marine protected area. So there are permissions that are required before you can actually step onto the island and swim from the island. So please make sure that your support or your service provider has all their permissions in place. So I would make contact well ahead of your swim with a service provider. CLDSA does have a list of skippers that can help you. Yeah, it's really, really important that you follow the rules when it comes to swimming from Robben Island, because one or two rogue swimmers who decide, well, we're just going to go and swim, can actually make the route inaccessible for all other swimmers. You are swimming across ferry lanes, and there is communication required with port control and with Robben Island. So make sure that your service provider has all of that in place before your swim day. Okay. The cost of your swim support is going to be determined by your service provider. So whoever you choose to support you across your swim, they will determine the cost of that. And I definitely recommend that you swim with a crew that knows the route. It's great honestly having a friend who's got a boat who can take you across. That's fantastic, and they may have all the statutory requirements in place. Excuse me. But it's important that they know how to support a swimmer on the route, and that they know what to do if you're in trouble as a swimmer. So really go with a crew that knows what they're doing, and that is experienced in this. Okay, now as a swimmer, you don't get to choose the line that you're going to swim. Okay, a lot of swimmers go, no, but we're going this way, and the boat's going, no, we're actually going this way. Okay, the importance of learning to swim next to the boat is the boat is your lifeline. The boat is going to determine your best route on the day, whether it is affected by current or whether there's no current, and you get a beautiful straight line from Robben Island to Big Bay. Some days that's possible, other days it's not. But the skipper of the boat is going to determine your line, and you really need to trust that skipper because your life is in their hands on that day. So be aware of where the boat is. You're going to be swimming about 2 to 3 meters away from the boat, and adjust your line according to the boat's line. Don't expect the boat to come to you. You need to move to the boat. Okay, that's very important as when you're swimming over longer distances and you have boat support. The boat determines the line. Okay. Okay, your boat crew will prepare your feeds, okay, and ensure your safety in the water. So when you meet your crew, you may not know them beforehand, but take time to actually stop and go through what your feeds are and what you would prefer at any given time. Okay. They're going to prepare your feeds a few minutes before you're ready to receive them. Oh, my throat, hang on a sec. Sorry, there's a frog in the room and it's in my throat. All right, so your crew is going to prepare your feeds. Okay. If on the day you're having a bad swim, you're not coping with a cold, your crew is going to make that call, and it's the skipper's responsibility to ensure the safety of everybody on that boat on the day. So whether you're swimming alone on the boat as a solo swimmer or with someone else, the skipper is going to make the final call. And you may want friends and family on the boat with you because it's your first swim, but as long as they understand that if a tough call needs to be made, it's going to be made, and it's going to be made in your best interests. Okay. For me, it's more important that you go home to your family on that day. You can come back and swim another day, rather than leaving you in the water because someone's going, no, they're okay, when you're not actually okay. When you get pulled out of the water, it's because at that specific moment in your swim, your crew and your skipper were not confident that you were going to complete the swim. And it's better to pull you out sooner rather than later, because you've still got to recover. Okay. Some people might not like that, but your safety is always the first concern of the skipper and crew on the day. And it's important that you understand that. Okay. Earlier I spoke about if you're swimming with someone, make sure you're swimming with someone who is a very similar pace to you. The boat is going to stay with the slowest swimmer. That's that's the rule of swim support. You stay with the slowest swimmer. So if you're going to swim ahead and then you're going to stop and hang in the water and wait for the swimmer to come up to you, you're going to get cold. So that's for the faster swimmer. The slower swimmer is going to try and catch up with the faster swimmer, and you're not going to have the energy to do that, and you may well injure yourself. So it really, really is important. Again, if you're going to swim with more than one swimmer on a boat, make sure your pace is very similar. Okay, determining when to swim. Please make contact with your service provider well ahead of time. Okay, making a phone call today going, I really want to swim next week, Tuesday. There's not a lot of service providers that are going to be able to help you with that. Okay, give yourselves a good couple of months lead time to make contact with a service provider. They're going to give you an indication of costs, an indication of when would be a good time to swim. Most skippers have preferences as to whether they want to start early in the morning or late in the morning. In the summer months with the southeaster comes up by lunchtime, and then you're going to have a very uncomfortable swim. So generally in the summer months, the earlier you can get out, the better. There was a question about sun on your back. The sun on your back is going to warm you. The ambient temperature is going to be warmer. It's going to make the cold water less cold. So that's why summer months are generally better. But winter, we've had warm water, warm, flat water, and it's been a great swim. So it really depends on what your planning is like. Excuse me. What your planning is like, what your time frame is like. But again, have the discussion with your service provider. What's going to determine your swim day? It's going to be swell size. They're generally going to look at a lower swell, anything from 1 to really not more than 2 meters. You're going to look at what the water temperature prediction is and what the wind prediction is. If wind is predicted for the day, you're probably not going to go out. It's just very uncomfortable. As CLDSA members, we do have a thermometer positioned at Robben Island. It updates every 30 minutes. Yeah, they're not going to like me for this. That thermometer sits in the harbor, okay? And it gives you the temperature in the harbor. So chances are it's going to give you the temperature at the very beginning of your swim. It's not going to tell you what it's going to do across to Big Bay. This morning, the thermometer said 15 plus at Robben Island. The average swim temp across Big Bay today was 12 degrees. So it's a good indicator of what the start of your swim is going to look like. Your service provider is going to give you a 2 to 3 day window. So depending on who you're going with, they're going to drop you an email or WhatsApp, however you communicate with them, and they're going to say, prepare yourself within the next 2 to 3 days. We'll probably be able to give you a go, no go 48 hours before the swim. But no, it can be cancelled on the day. Conditions are predicted and forecast, but on the day, anything can happen. My first swim was not on the 14th of February, it was on the 7th of February. And I was walking out the front door at 7 o'clock in the morning to go and meet my skipper at Big Bay. And I got a phone call as I walked out the front door going, no, we're not going today. So it can happen. Mostly it doesn't, but it can. So be ready when your skipper tells you to go, and you'll have a great swim. Okay, registering your swim with CLDSA. Manine gave a rundown of what CLDSA does. There's a pamphlet that gives you more information on the benefits of being a member of CLDSA, and registering your swim is one of the benefits. Having it on a public platform, you get a certificate, and you can also order a medal for the route that you swim. As soon as your observer report is received, your certificate is automatically sent to you. Your medals, we have our annual AGM and awards evening on the same night, and it's great to actually hand out medals at that event. It's great recognition for all the swimmers who've done the route, and you also get to meet other swimmers who have a similar passion to you in terms of water swimming. Okay, let me just pop back up to the chat and have a look. Robben Rock. How does, okay, the, hang on, let me just go up a little bit first.
Michelle, do you want me to help you with the questions in the chat? Maybe just share.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we spoke about the regular training in the cold water, the carb mix we spoke about. I think the best months to do the crossing we spoke about. There was just a question for those not in Cape Town. How do we train in cold water? I don't know if there's maybe anyone else on the call that could give some indication. Right, Michelle, I don't know if you've got a view or there's anybody else.
There is a school of thought about ice baths and cold showers, and just really the Wim Hof method of the cold shower thing. I like a hot shower, so it's never going to work for me. But yeah, that is something. I know the temperatures up in Joburg in summer, there's no cold water. It doesn't matter what you do. So ice baths apparently are very much a thing in terms of acclimatizing to cold water if you're not able to swim in cold water. Yeah.
Okay, then I think there was, are you allowed to strap your fingers together with a band? I think it's probably some of the rules.
Any sort of taping is considered assisted. So strapping of your hands would be assisted. Any sort of medical tape is considered assisted. So the short answer to that is no, unless you are happy to register your swim as an assisted swim.
Yeah. So I think maybe just for people not familiar with the CLDSA, there's 3 categories in which you can register a swim, which is skins, wetsuit, and assisted. I think it's really, really important. Michelle mentioned it, but that when you register your swim, please familiarize yourself with some of those CLDSA rules. They're publicly available. Check what is considered as a skins, wetsuit, or assisted swim. There are some technicalities that some people don't look at, and then they assume that they have a skin swim. And then when the observer report comes back, we see that it's not done according to the skins rules. So please, for your own sake, to save disappointment, I'd say, please familiarize yourself with those rules. Okay, then I think there was, sorry, Michelle, you want to add something?
No, go ahead.
Okay, I think there was a question about Robben Rock that was swam last year with a final distance of 6.3 kilometers. How does the Robben Island compare to that swim?
Robben Rock last year was a great swim. It was a colder swim than was anticipated, particularly being on in Simon's Bay. It was expected to be at least a 16-degree swim, and I think it was closer to 14. So temperature-wise, in terms of last year's swim, that would be similar to a Robben Island. What you don't have there is any of the current, any of the wind, because you were swimming into a very protected and sheltered bay. So once we moved away from Robben Rock and started moving towards shore, and then turning and swimming with the shoreline back to the harbour, it was a very protected swim in that sense. Whereas the Robben Island swim is it's a wilder swim in those terms. You're definitely dealing with cross currents, cross winds, and it makes it a very challenging swim. So that would be my comment on comparing it to Roman rock.
Okay.
Sun on your back. For South Africa, Southern Hemisphere, sun on your back would be our summer months. So anything from late August, mid to late August through to March. April has historically been a fantastic month for records and Robben Island crossings. Last year was a bit of an anomaly in terms of water temperature. The water temperature for 4 weeks, it never got above 11 degrees. So there were a lot of swims that happened in that time. There were a lot of cold people in the water. There were a lot of people pulled out of the water. So it really is, sometimes it's just the luck of the draw in terms of the temperature and the time of year that you're able to do the crossing comfortably. Yeah.
I think that next question also relates to a strategy to maybe spend a week or so in Cape Town and find a good weather window. I think the answer is the same. You could, but it's not predictable. I think the weather is generally not predictable, but that could be a strategy. Okay, Langebaan swims. There's a question about the Langebaan warm-up swims. Are the groups that swim there regularly? Was that a pre-arranged official swim?
There is a pre-arranged official swim that you would. It depends on who your coaching group is. Okay, there are a number of groups that prepare as groups for the Robben Island crossing, and that swim is one of their training swims. Okay, so they do arrange with a service provider in Langebaan to take them on that swim, and these are generally 10 or 12 swimmers together at a time that do that swim. There are groups that swim in Langebaan. Manine, the ducks, what are they?
Yeah, the floating ducks, but they don't necessarily do the long swims. They do sort of shorter swims.
Yeah,
it's more of a social group. Yeah.
Okay, so yes, recommended 100-meter split. That's a loaded question. Okay. I would say there is not a recommended 100-meter split because one swimmer can do 1:15, a 1:35, 1:40, or 1:50, a 2-minute, a 2:15. Don't compare yourself to other swimmers. Prepare for your swim and make arrangements for your swim. Realistically, if you're swimming about a 1:50 or a 2-minute 100-meter consistently, okay, and you're not resting for 5 or 10 minutes between each 100-meter, you're looking at about a 2.5 to 45-minute swim. The best way to determine how long your swim is going to be is in your training cycle, you're going to have 4K swims. Do a 4K swim. Whatever your intervals are on that swim, take your time from when you start to when you get out of the pool. You're not looking for your moving time, you're looking at your elapsed time. Okay, and that's going to give you a pretty good indication of where you're going to be on your Robben Island crossing. Again, it's an indication. Okay, I had guys get in the water the other day going, we're good for a 2.5 hour swim. And I looked at them and I went, okay, cool. I hope you've got enough feed. And they didn't, because they planned for a 2.5 hour swim and they did a 3:15. Okay, so again, plan for a longer swim. Even if you're really fit, if the current's running the wrong way on the day, and that's not something you can determine ahead of time, you get on the water and you look at what the anchored vessels are doing in the bay, and you go, ooh, that's going to be tough. Today, looking at the vessels, they were sitting bow south, stern north, and the current was running. The current was a tough current. So you can only determine that when you get in the water on the day.
And Michelle, I just want to answer the question prior. So Louise asked, if you already have a service provider, you need to fill out a form on the CLDSA website. Yes, you need to. I'm going to sort of answer that. You need to make sure that you've got a paid up membership with CLDSA, and then you need to put a swim application form in. And that swim application form is then we'll match the observer report that comes back from your service provider with that particular swim application form to create your record. Okay, I think thanks Sue, Joburg-based swimmers, do they swim at the end of the winter or swim throughout the winter? That's a way to, I think, definitely acclimatize. Thanks for Sue.
Yeah, thanks. We've had quite a lot of Joburg swimmers come down at the end of winter for their swims, and they've been successful. So yes, cold water in winter in Joburg, that's when you're going to find the cold water.
Michelle, question about where can we find some training programs?
That's a tough one. It's tough in the terms that there are a number of coaches that I'm aware of in Cape Town. Oh, sorry, the dog just fell off the chair. I'm happy to make those suggestions offline. I don't particularly want to be seen to be putting forward specific coaches. But there are training groups in and around Cape Town out of various gyms and swimming pools, and they all have programs in place. There are also online programs available. You can check the resources on CLDSA. There are
list of coaches,
some coaches on the CLDSA website as well. So that could be a starting point for you.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, average time to swim a Robben Island crossing?
Absolutely varies. It varies from anything from a 2-hour swim to a 4-hour swim. It really depends on your ability. Generally, I would look at planning for a 2.5 to 3 hour swim. I would say that's a fair average.
Definitely. How many carbs in a gram can you absorb per hour?
Okay, that's a very technical question. I would refer to the specific carb that you're using. That is normally on their specifications.
Okay, good. And then Craig, I think the last question is, second last question. TDI, I would suggest you go and research maybe the details around carb absorption and so forth. I'm not sure that we're necessarily in a position to answer that question. And then Craig is having less body fat count, 1 out for skins. I think that's the first question Craig asked.
It definitely does. It doesn't count you out for skins. It's all about acclimatization. There's some. I look at some swimmers that I don't have less body fat. I definitely have a bit of insulation, which is helpful. But I know a lot of and I'm going to put it bluntly, really skinny swimmers who cope fine in the cold water because they were acclimatized to it. So the shark question. Okay. I haven't seen a shark on the Robben Island route. I've supported close to 100 swimmers on the route, and I've not seen a shark on the route. However, the company that I work with is Big Bay Events, and they're very experienced on that route. So if you want to wear a shark band on your ankle, that's fine. There are generally shark shields on the boats, depending on how many boats are out. So there are creatures that live in the water, and you're likely to see some of them. I haven't seen a shark. We've seen whales, seals,
sunfish,
jellyfish, sunfish. Yeah, if you see jellyfish, your chance of seeing a sunfish is pretty good. Penguins, quite a few penguins out today. That was quite cool. So yeah, it's something you do need to get used to, the idea of what's in the water. And it is a head thing.
Yeah. Okay, Michelle, I think it was just related to that. A question, what is a shark band? And then I think we're going to take the last question because in terms of timing. Okay. Yeah, cool. What is a shark band?
A shark band is a device that it's an electronic device that attaches around your ankle. And I do believe that they've done tests that say it repels sharks. So I myself don't use one, so I can't give you any first-hand information on that, but there are quite a number of swimmers that I've seen that do have them. Insights for jellyfish on the swim: take an antihistamine before the swim. That's, but again, take medical advice on that. I myself take an antihistamine before a swim. I don't have life-threatening allergies that I'm aware of, but it just helps if you do get stung to deal with that. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Anything else you want to do?
I think there was just one last question around wetsuits, and then I think we're going to probably wrap it around the call around that. Any advice on wetsuits?
There are a lot of swimmers that use wetsuits. There's anything from sailfish to orca to blue smooth. There are a number of swimming wetsuits. Find one that fits you, that fits your price range, that you're comfortable with. It's the best advice I can give you.
And train with it.
And train with it. Most of the suppliers will have some sort of testing day where they test wetsuits. So find out from them when they're testing wetsuits and try and get to the event that they're holding, where you can actually test the wetsuit. So it's a way of trying the product without having to shell out the cash for it. Okay.
Okay. I think sort of that wraps it. Michelle, thank you very much for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge. And I'm sure there's a lot more that we could, which CDSA, but thank you very much. And thank you very much for everyone making the time. I see, as I said, I see some experienced Robben Island swimmers on the call, which is lovely, a lovely compliment. And to everyone planning your first Robben Island, go for it. It's an amazing experience. And yeah, thank you. All the best, all the good luck with it. And I mean, if there's anything offline that we can assist with, you know, you're welcome to also contact us at the CLDSA. There's a lot of experienced swimmers. I see Mara's on the call, Shanae, quite a lot of experienced CLDSA swimmers. So you guys are really welcome to give us a call. We can assist with any way. And yeah, we really look forward to having getting that observer report back and seeing some of your reports there. And at our AGM, it's a lovely event to celebrate your swim as well. So thank you very much. Look forward to seeing you guys.
Yeah, look forward to seeing you in the water and on the water. So absolutely. Good luck with your preparations.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Keep well. Bye-bye.